Hello and welcome to Chart of the Day Cafe for Thursday, December 15th, 2016. Just want to read our disclaimer quickly. Trading stocks is a high level of risk and viewers should complete their own due diligence on any stock or underlying that they intend to own. 100% of the content of this video and communique is intended for journalistic and educational purposes only. This video and all indicators, strategies, and articles herein should not be construed as investment advice, not making any recommendations, always for your further homework. And so we always start our videos off with a look at the Russell Index. We always want to make sure that before we put any new charts forward, we're putting them forward in a rising market environment. And for our look at the Russell, we use the IWM, which is the ETF that represents the Russell 2000, and we step back to take a look at it on a 5-year monthly time frame. So regular viewers know we were keeping an eye on this blue channel that the Russell traded within through all of 2014, had this lift up and out in 15, early 15. It hit this shaded blue line, sold off, but then price strength came back in, and we are up and over that light blue shaded line now. Here's the candle for the month of November, bullish with volume pushing us up and over our shaded blue line. And let's get into this area that we're in right here, right now. So let's go back and take a look at it on the daily. So you can see that a little bit of weakness is coming in. So as per our rules at Chart of the Day Cafe, we will not put any new charts forward when the Russell is trading below, the price action on the Russell is below the 8-day EMA. This is our guide. This blue line is the 8-day EMA. Since price is below, and we had a red candle yesterday, we're not going to put any new charts forward. We're just going to go back to review some old charts. Having said that price is below the 8-day EMA, this is an area we can see of more minor support on this chart, right? So coming into that area, will the uptrend hold and continue? I don't know, nobody knows, but we're just going to be observers to see if we get price strength coming back in and price moves up and over that 8-day EMA on the Russell, we'll start putting new charts forward. But until then, we're just going to go back and review an old chart that I think looks interesting in this area. And so that old Chart of the Day Cafe featured chart that we're going to review here today is Hasbro. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Hasbro. It's the toy company. They're engaged in the design, manufacture, and marketing of toys and games around the world. They also have a licensing agreement with Disney and their Star Wars franchise. They have the rights to the Frozen line of toys and dolls. It's a big toy company. You know what, Chart of the Day Cafe, it's all about value. The value score is still meeting our requirements and where it needs to be. Second thing we look for is growth, and the forecasted earnings growth rate on Disney currently is 14%, so we still have that growth component there. Third thing we look for is dividend yield, and the current dividend yield on Hasbro is 2.40%. We don't always get the dividend. We look for it. We don't always get it, but in this case, it is there. And for you PE people, the PE ratio on it currently is 18.82. So with that, let's get into the chart. We're looking at the 5-year monthly chart of Hasbro. It was one of the first charts that I featured back in 2014. These little green circles indicate where I put my video out. It had a nice run up from there. I reiterated Hasbro here on September 1st of this year. It had a little dip lower, but has since done what it was supposed to do. The reason I'm flagging it for you today is because this chart has never been higher. I call it sky is blue. There's no overhead resistance. Hasbro is on the short list to be included in the NASDAQ index. If that happens, it would seem to me it might be likely for Hasbro to break through this area and move higher. Being included in those indexes is usually a catalyst for a stock to go higher. I say usually, you don't ever know, but this area on Hasbro I think is interesting. You also want to note the volume coming in this area. We're looking at the monthly chart, but this chart looks pretty interesting to me. So let's get into this area here. We're going to move it away from the 5-year monthly to the 2-year weekly. You can see this is where we put our video out on September 1st, so it had this little dip down, but you've got to be patient, put them on your watch list, and when they move up and over that 8-day EMA, they get pretty interesting. The reason I love the way the chart is shaping up in this area here, it's kind of consolidating, deciding, do I move lower, do I move higher? If the market goes lower, of course, Hasbro will probably go with it, but should the market continue to show strength, we've got a little weakness coming into the Russell yesterday, so we're going to be careful and not put fresh charts forward, but I think this one is interesting to just review and keep an eye on here. I'm going to move it away from the weekly to the 6-month daily so you can better see how it's behaving. I'm going to put a little area of support resistance in here, right in this area. I like the way it's dancing around here. I'll put a little wedge and say with those scores, should the market move higher, I would not be too surprised to see Hasbro break out of this little wedge and go higher as well. So this is just a review, so we're not going to do the full-on analysis that we normally do. Just giving you a heads up on an old featured pick that I think looks interesting here, and it still holds those scores that we require for Chart of the Day Cafe. As part of our review for Hasbro, let's take a look at the sector that it's in, which is the XLY. We're looking at the 5-year monthly. XLY is the ETF for the consumer discretionary space. 5-year monthly chart, you want to see that it's uptrending. We had it in this little wedge. It broke out of that wedge last month, and the month of December so far is showing strength. So overall, the sector that Hasbro is in is still showing strength and ticking higher. Having said that, we want to take a look at it on the daily chart. This looks okay. We'll see what happens today. I'm filming this at about 8 o'clock. On Thursday morning, the futures are flat and kind of looking for direction, so you want to be extra careful. And we're just reviewing Hasbro, so we're not going to do the full-on check the boxes thing. But wanted to point out that the sector that it's in is also up and over that 8-day EMA and overall in an uptrend. Also want to review the seasonality, and we love this website, equityclock.com, and you can see that seasonality-wise, Hasbro does pretty well in the month of December, and then in January it has this nice run up here. So we've got that, and the article that I will include with today's video is this one: will Hasbro be added to the NASDAQ index? This is December 12th of this year. Is it time to buy? I'll include this and several other articles that I have in my notes that I think are interesting for Hasbro. So with that, we're putting Hasbro forward as a review chart for our featured look today for Chart of the Day Cafe on this Thursday, December 15th, 2016. Thanks very much and have a great weekend. If you like our videos, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel by hitting the subscribe button on the home page, and also want to remind you to check our discussion section regularly. Should Hasbro get that lift and the 3 and 8 cross we look for at Chart of the Day Cafe, I will post it in the discussion area.